Two American champions will be crowned tomorrow. The MLS Cup playoffs return to a do-or-die format as well, and the European club football dances its way back into our living rooms. That and much more here on Friday's Morning Kickaround. Hello and welcome into Morning Kickaround, where we cover the world's favorite game, coming from the world's most entertaining country. Coming to you
if you got dogs,
Friday.
It's an entertaining country. If you've got dogs, let the dogs out, Robert.
We cover the world's favorite game, accompanied by the world's favorite kind of dog. This is Morning Kickaround. Me, the guy with the Chihuahuas. I'm Robert Kerr. Happy to be joined by the dogless and the venerable Jason Davis.
I am dogless. It does make me sad that I am a dogless person. I like dogs. I don't know about Chihuahuas. That seems a choice. But dogs in general, I'm on board with. I happen to be married to somebody who does not want a dog. So everybody cry for me today. No dogs in my house.
A dogless cat lady, huh?
No cats either. No pets whatsoever. Just a teenager and a 3-year-old, and then whatever I am, however I rate on the pet scale, I guess. You ask my wife, she'll tell you.
Children are enough of a handful, so I don't blame you. I had no choice in adopting the myriads of animals. Actually, the first time in my life I've got two animals. We recently acquired a little cat. Okay. So we have a aged dog and a youthful cat in the house.
A menagerie, if you will. At the Kerr household. Okay, that's good to know.
I hope you're feeling good. My WMU Broncos won in the first game in the NCAA tournament with the rare sliding knee slide celebration in the snow in Kalamazoo. So I enjoyed that yesterday. How you feeling here on Friday?
I got to go check that out. Are there highlights somewhere? Can I see a snow knee slide after a soccer goal? That's a rare sight. You don't see that very often.
Yeah, I caught it on the WMU Broncos soccer Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah, snowy knee slides in Western Michigan.
Slides. Yeah, I'm ready for the return of club football. I mean, it is about as busy as you can get. You know, this is what I always tell my wife is she's she knows. I was in soccer when she met me. I was just starting my radio career at that point. I had been doing various shows like this for a long time. She knows exactly what she was getting into, and yet every now and then she was like, when does soccer stop? And I'm like, never.
See, there's like 5 days in between, like maybe at the end of June, about 5 or 6 days.
That's right. That's it. We might have like the Premier League and the European seasons end, and then we don't have an MLS game for like a couple of days. That's pretty much it, right? Otherwise, it is nonstop. And this is one of those weekends because we come out of the international break. So we got all of the club leagues over in Europe who are getting fired back up again. Premier League is getting intense. And then also the MLS Cup playoffs are back. We've got the NWSL final. We got the USL Championship final. Robert, we got the College Cup tournament is happening. Like, there's so many things going on. How could we possibly get to all of it?
We will get to all of it through the most strategic directed through balls, long balls you can imagine. But first, MK Ultras, be sure to click the subscribe button on YouTube, on the Morning Kickaround YouTube channel. We're ticking ever closer to our goals. Let's get to 500, that first benchmark that we ultimately need. Follow along on
Please.
X and Instagram, Kickaround, and we've been receiving some lovely responses on morningkickaround@gmail.com, getting some good ideas for Get to Know Your District and some more American soccer stories being unearthed. So thank you for sending those emails.
Yes, we are lining things up for Get to Know Your District after the response that we've gotten over in the email after I posted on Blue Sky about looking for stories. Vermont is in play, Richmond's in play, Charlotte's in play. I think I'm missing a couple of other cities that deserve. St. Louis, some St. Louis story about supporter groups. I'm in for this. This is what we want to do here. Focus on American soccer stories. So thank you very much, and keep them coming. Keep them coming.
Yeah, fire up MK Ultras, and then everyone buckle up. Here we go. Friday's long balls coming at you. Long ball number one here for Friday. Club football returns after the long international break. All the football's crashing on us. Where should we start? Should we start in Italy? AC Milan taking
Sure.
on Juventus Saturday, high
Ooh.
noon. Will this be dancing onto your television?
I want to just start busting out the national anthem like right now. Or which one is your favorite patriotic song, Robert? Which one did they when they made? I don't know. You were. I don't know your history. I don't know if you got indoctrinated with all of our patriotic songs in elementary school or not. But My Country, 'Tis of Thee. What else is This Land is my land. This land is your land.
If I was to pick one out of those bunches, I would go with the hippie version, and This Land Is Your Land.
Okay, you like that one? That one is much more sing-songy than some of the other ones, where you kind of have to be able to belt it out. What's the one they sing at seventh inning stretch at baseball games now because George Steinbrenner was a crazy guy? Remember
Take me out
that?
to the ball game?
No. They do. The Yankees always have some opera dude, or they used to anyway. When I was watching baseball, come out and sing one of the songs. God Bless America, of course, it's that one. God bless America. That's what we're going to get in Italy, right, with this game. God bless America. Christian Pulisic, Yunus Musa, with Weston McKennie and Tim Weah on the other side. Hopefully they're all starting. Hopefully we get to celebrate American soccer on this day, a noon kickoff. Clear the schedules. There's other things happening. Clear the
Producer
schedules.
Jenny likes America the Beautiful should be our national anthem.
I have heard that argument. That is a possibility. I've read a lot about some possibilities for our national anthem since our national anthem seems to not be the best. But go ahead, talk more about soccer.
Okay, so Milan versus Juventus, 12 o'clock, 7th versus 6th. Milan trying to gain some ground. They are at 5-3-3 in Serie A so far. They've shown lots of individual talent, some great moments, but they haven't been able to get the results to push them into that top four in Italy.
Yeah.
My question for this, I think should be an entertaining game. Lots of games competing at this time slot, but I want to ask you, will we see a Silvio Berlusconi dance?
Oh, does that exist? What is that?
I mean, he was a wedding singer, so I'm sure there's some sort of a
Oh,
thing going on.
He was a lot of things, Silvio Berlusconi. He was many things. Pornographer or something verging on that, perhaps. I don't know. You could get into weird territory.
I think
with Silvio.
philanderer is a better term.
No, but I mean, his television products were often extremely, he pushed the envelope.
Suggestive.
Yeah, he liked to push the envelope. Lots of bouncing babes. That kind of vibe. No, I think I think this is potentially a high scoring game. I don't think either one of these teams defends all that well, and so there's a very good chance that we will get some goals, which could be entertaining. In terms of what it means for these teams in the standings, we've talked about it, Rob. It's pretty clear that these teams are a significant step back from Inter, who's right now in fourth because there's a log jam at the very top. But and I know Juventus is only a point off of that group, but Inter and Napoli especially seem to be ahead of Juve and AC Milan. I do think both those teams are potentially top four teams, but I'm not trying to discount Atalanta. I'm not trying to discount Fiorentina. I'm not trying to discount even Lazio right now, 25 points, fifth place.
I know a lot of attention gets drawn to the Premier League for, obvious reasons. It's really access and the television product is great. And it's been on television regularly for longer. But some of the teams at the top in Italy are really exciting teams. You just bulleted them off. There's some of the best attacking talent in the world there right now.
We are unfortunately here in America, we are very easily manipulated towards the league where the people speak English. And
Anglophiles.
A lot of Anglophiles. Some of us are English. That guy over there. Others of us are just Anglophiles, and then but I do think it matters that it's easier to follow a league where everything is happening in the language you speak. So, for English speakers, it's natural to gravitate towards the Premier League. I think it's also natural for Spanish speakers, this country and other places, to gravitate towards La Liga, right? Barcelona, Real Madrid are massive in Latin America because they can directly engage with what the stories are around those teams rather than having to get it through a filter. And I think that's part of Serie A's problem is that there's a lot of things happening. It's super fascinating. The Italians, they know a drama, right? They know how to make everything fascinating. Silvio Berlusconi is a perfect example, and yet we get it through a filter, and then we feel like it's not quite the same as listening to some chap talk about Aston Villa or whatever.
Getting blokey with the commentary. Also at that 12 o'clock slot in the aforementioned England, Manchester City sitting in second, welcoming Tottenham Hotspur sitting in 10th. Will your eyes get drawn away from Italy for this one?
I'm going to check in on that one. I mean, talk about drama, talk about interesting things. Pep Guardiola signed his contract, so he's not leaving at the end of this season, at least based on what he's just decided to do with that new deal. Spurs, man, how do you describe Spurs? Feast or famine? Tottenham Hotspur going away to play at the Etihad. Obviously, very difficult for them. They just had the whole thing with Betancourt and the 7-game suspension because of what he said about Son's cousins. I guess I don't know. I mean,
likenesses.
Wow, I know they're filing an appeal, which doesn't make sense. If you're saying he did it, he did it, and then there are players in the team. Evan Davis, I think, said this, that are trying to move forward. They're like, we're just going to put it behind us. Oh, yeah, then why is the club appealing Betancourt's suspension to try to get it reduced by what probably won't be more than 1 game? So I don't know. That doesn't make a lot of sense for me. But in terms of where these two teams are, City is still very much a contender to win this title. If they drop points at home to Spurs and Liverpool takes care of their business, we will start to talk about whether things are getting too stretched for City. But I think the stats on this are, there have been 6 times, this is the 6th time, that a team has been 5 points up after 11 rounds. And all of those other times, the 5 other times it's happened before, the team ahead at this point won the title. Right? That's what the history says. I know you love that, Rob, because you're a Liverpool guy.
I know, but don't taunt me with these sort of things.
Well,
my team also leads all-time second place finishes as well.
That's right. I also have another stat, though, right? That stat is that City has trailed the leader by at least 5 points, often more, every time they've won the title in the last 6 years. So City knows how to track down a team that has taken a 5-point or more lead on them. They know how to do that. And yet history says that if a team has this much of a lead at the 11-game mark, they win the title. So those are competing factoids, Robert. Now, one of them is good for your Liverpool. One of them is not so good because City knows how to do this job.
Yeah, I mean, I've had my heart broken on many occasions, so I'm not going to get too excited like that. The Bella Ciao comment in the comments there. Well done there. That made me smile. So we get to the third game I wanted to highlight. Last place, welcoming the first place team Sunday at 9 a.m. Southampton and Liverpool. Is this a quote unquote banana skin? Is there going to be an international break hangover? I mean, the only defeat Liverpool has incurred this season has been off the back of an international break. Do you foresee this being possible?
Well, that one slip by Liverpool was off the back of an international break against a team that is currently sitting in 5th place. Now, that's a surprise. No one expects Nottingham Forest to be in 5th place at this point in the season on 19 points. But it clearly means Nottingham Forest is better than anybody gave them credit for back when they beat Liverpool at Anfield. And by the way, that 3 points that they got at Anfield is the reason they are in 5th and not down there with Tottenham in mid-table. So, yes, right, it's a small enough sample size to not be sure. But I don't see any reason to think Southampton is a challenge for Liverpool at this point. So there you go. Yeah, and yes, thank you to Rupesh. Berlusconi did die. I failed to mention it. I guess R.I.P. Silvio Berlusconi. It depends on how you feel about what he did to Italy and Italian politics. But go ahead, continue.
Many things. So come stateside, long ball number 2. Actually, not stateside just yet, but there are reports. Javier Mascherano to coach Inter Miami. Fabrizio Romano, just before we came on the air, on the stream, reporting that there are rumors of Mascherano, former Barcelona man and Liverpool man.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about his coaching pedigree just yet, but apparently he is heading to South Beach.
Okay, so this is, let me just make sure we're clear on what we see. This is Fabrizio Romano Not saying here we go. So this is not him confirming via his own sources, because you get a here we go from Fab when it's his story. He is actually getting this from Cesar Luis Merlo, who is a journalist down in Argentina, based in Buenos Aires. So you would think, and I think Cesar Luis Merlo has had good information on Argentinian football in the past, so trust that guy on some level. This says that the agreement is done, and this special friendship with Lionel Messi seems to be a major driver of this. Documents being prepared is how Fab describes it. Yes, Fabrizio Romano reporting what Cesar Luis Merlo has reported, that Javier Mascherano will be the next manager of Inter Miami. Javier Mascherano has managed one team, that team being the Argentina national U20 team. That's his experience. That's all he's got.
According to
Is he
Wikipedia,
ready
he also
for
was
this?
involved in the Argentina coaching staff for the 2024 Summer Olympics as well.
I mean, that's a U23 team, right? That's a youth team with Argentina's national team. That's the extent of Javier Mascherano's managerial experience or coaching experience, right? Coaching experience, period. Like you've given a let's give him credit for being an assistant with Argentina's Olympic team. He was with Argentina's Olympic team. Man, this is 100% cronyism from Lionel Messi and Inter Miami, and yeah, wow. I don't know. I think it's kind of ridiculous, right? I'm surprised that Jorge Mas is going to just give in to. Look, this is about Lionel Messi's power, I guess. This explains, this puts on Front Street exactly how much power Lionel Messi has in Inter Miami. He wants his boy to be the manager, then Jorge Mas is going to go sign his boy to be the manager, regardless of whether or not Javier Mascherano has any experience that would lead you to believe he could possibly be good at this. This is Lionel Messi managing the team through somebody, because Lionel Messi is effectively going to be the player manager after Tata Martino left. I mean, that's what this also says, that this is going to be Lionel Messi's show. But Lionel Messi's not going to do the press conference. Lionel Messi's not going to be the guy who does the media appearance. Lionel Messi's not going to be the guy who has to answer the questions about injuries around the team. That's not going to be Lionel Messi. So this is a figurehead, somebody who's going to do all of those public-facing things in Javier Mascherano. I mean, it's not the first time this has happened in world football, obviously, but it's pretty ridiculous when you think about it.
Would you say, I mean, was there some internal strife with Tata Martino and Inter Miami as with him stepping away and then being kind of replaced with one of Messi's guys? I mean, Tata Martino, everyone thought that was one of his guys,
Look,
but
my
he stepped
working
away.
theory-
Was there turmoil that wasn't public?
My working theory is, and it's just that, it's a theory. My working theory is that Tata Martino had clear ideas on how to make that team better to win a championship next year, after they had a great regular season but came up short in the playoffs in a surprise against Atlanta United. And Tata Martino is a serious football man. Now, I'm not saying that he also doesn't respect Lionel Messi. I'm sure he does, right? And they did have a relationship. It's why Tata worked on some level, because of their shared history. But I'm guessing Tata Martino said, we need to do these things, which are in the service of winning a championship. And maybe we need to jettison some of the older guys, or maybe it shouldn't be a Barcelona reunion. Maybe it should be a little bit more, in the mold of what MLS teams do to win championships. And Lionel Messi said, no, I don't like any of that. No me gusta. I want my way. And Tata said, okay, well, I'm not going to be in a power battle with the best player on the planet when I know I'm going to lose. Jorge Mas is going to, he's going to defer to Lionel Messi. He's going to do what Lionel Messi wants, and not what Tata Martino wants, if those two are in conflict with one another. And Tata said, okay, I don't need it. I'm done. Personal reasons. I'm out. And here comes a guy who's going to rubber stamp everything Lionel Messi wants in Javier Mascherano. Again, this is Lionel Messi's team. If you thought we might get player manager Messi, that again, too many responsibilities there for Lionel Messi, a pretty reserved dude. But this is effectively that.
You do think that has there been anything close to this? Was the Beckham experience anything remotely close to the player manager sort of arrangement?
There were, well, not when Bruce Arena came in to LA, right? That was the decision that the LA Brass made when things were not going well. Frank Gallup in charge initially when Beckham arrived. That was the thing that they did. They brought in somebody who actually could say no to David Beckham, or say no to Beckham's people, or whatever it was. And again, let's this is almost like a mob situation. Not saying any of these people are criminals like that, but it's almost like a mob situation. Lionel Messi's not the guy who makes the demand. It's his people who make the demand. And Lionel Messi is insulated over here sitting in his penthouse. He's just you can't directly connect him to the demand, but it's pretty clear it's coming from him, right? This is the layer of protection that a mob boss would have when he's operating his criminal enterprise. This is not the first time in soccer. It's not the first time in sports that the star player has dictated terms. Like we've seen it before. It happens in Los Angeles with basketball teams all the time, or it certainly did during the Kobe Bryant era. This is not new. And again, you have an owner who is 100% on board with Messi pushing his club forward, with Messi being the guy that brought so much. That's what Jorge Mas wants. Right? He wants the spotlight as much as he wants to win, and the spotlight is there because of Lionel Messi. So, of course, he's going to do what Messi wants.
It would be in your best interest if you hire Javier Mascherano. My friend, he feels a certain way about Javier Mascherano.
Our mutual friend thinks that perhaps you should hire that Argentina manager named Javier Mascherano. That's what we're hearing. But you do you. You're the one that makes the decisions. We're just making suggestions here. That's all.
We're all friends here. But this is what we'd want. This is what we want.
I didn't expect us to be doing that on a Friday morning, Rob, but that's nice. I liked it.
Placata adds in the comments, Messi should probably just go ahead and sign some defenders. Not a bad idea either. There'll be some defenders. Keep the ball out of the net. Anyway, moving on. Long ball number 3. Not one, but 2 American champions will be crowned on Saturday. Jason, where do you want to go with this? Do you want to start at 12 o'clock with the USL Championship final, or to prime time for NWSL Championship at 8?
Well, okay, let's be fair. The NWSL Championship is the championship of the top division of women's soccer in the United States of America, and therefore is bigger. And I'm not trying to disrespect all my USL fan people out there. We had John Morrissey on recently to talk about the USL. Really good stuff. And it's a growing league. It's a fascinating league. It's very fun. I'm on board. But the NWSL game is bigger nationally. It's got a bigger footprint. It's got a bigger spotlight. It's all those things. I do like the fact that the USL Championship final is happening so early in the day, so I don't have to worry about a conflict with the NWSL Championship happening in prime time, as you said. These are the 2 best teams in the NWSL, and I like that, right? I like that we're getting that expression of the best the league has to offer. I know MLS has had this whole discussion around the playoff format. Now it's not delivering the top teams to the later stages of the competition. NWSL has no such problems. It is Orlando. It is Washington. I'm making my plan right now to go out and watch the game and a watch party here in the D.C. metropolitan area. Nice. I do think that this is a team that is capturing a lot of attention in D.C., which I very much like to see. Trinity Rodman is a superstar. There's no doubt about that. But, of course, Marta gets a chance to maybe go and win one more title in her incredibly illustrious career. I mean, these are both very, very, very good teams. And, again, I think we're going to see some very fun soccer. I mean, it's a final, Rob, so you might get some ugliness. It might not be super swashbuckling all over the place. It's going to be probably pretty tense. But you come for the final and the drama, and you hope that a Marta or a Barbara Banda or a Trinity Rodman takes a game on their shoulders and wins it.
I mean, both of these teams, huge amounts of goals this year. I mean, Barbara Banda had 16, Marta had 11, and that's not even counting like the contributions of Dabinia and others. Washington Spirit seemed to score just like everyone on their squad seems to score, just spread out across the board there. So, like you said, it's a final, might be cagey, lots on the line, but plenty of goal potential. Played in a neutral location, played at a Kansas City Current Stadium. First stadium built specifically for a women's soccer team. What will the attendance be like is a question I've been
I think
about.
Attendance will probably be pretty good. I did hear that Marta at the award ceremony that the NWSL had before the game in Kansas City was imploring Kansas City fans to support Orlando, despite the fact that there's been some some testiness between those two teams in the past. I guess that's like, if you're going to lose in the semifinal, you want the team that beats you to go win the title, right? Is that the logic there? I mean,
Yeah, only because like it shows that you lost to the best team. So it's like
that's
almost
right.
validated. Like we had a great run, but we lost to the best team.
Right, exactly. I do, like, as a fan, that's always the difficult question to ask yourself. My team is out, my team is eliminated. I no longer have a direct rooting interest. Do I want the team that beat us to go and win the title because then we lost to the best team? Or do I want them to lose and suffer pain because they knocked us out?
I mean, that
Tough
depends on
stuff.
the fan and also the nature of the defeat. Like, did you like did the team that beat you just totally get under your skin? Like, oh, those guys are dirty players. Like, screw those
Right,
guys.
right. There was some testiness in that game between the Pride and the Current. So again, that's the thing. Like, but maybe it's a mutual respect. I mean, we're talking a lot about respect, and you gotta
Hey,
respect your opponent.
respect my pride. Respect my pride. So
Yeah,
Saturday night, big stage, CBS, Orlando Pride versus
CBS.
Washington Spirit. The top two teams going at it should be an enthralling match. But earlier in the day, USL Championship, the second division championship on the line. Colorado, the
Also,
Switchbacks versus Rhode
also,
Island expansion.
also on CBS, also happening on CBS. That has dictated for the USL Championship a difficult start time for this game, right? So as you said, noon Eastern. Let me do my time zone math. Always a little difficult
Colorado
for
is
me.
not in the Eastern time zone.
No, it's in the Mountain Time Zone, which is like there's like nobody thinks about the Mountain Time Zone, right? It's always like the television. It's always like 9 o'clock on the East Coast, 8 Central, 6 o'clock out there on the West Coast. The Mountain Time Zone gets skipped. It's 2 hours behind Eastern Time, so that's a 10 a.m. kickoff. 10 a.m. Rob. Now I have it on good authority. The technical director for the Colorado Springs Switchbacks, Stephen Hogan, who I talked to on the radio yesterday, that they have sold more seats than they have capacity. They have standing room only seats sold. They're at 9,000 or 9,500 tickets sold there at Widener Field in Colorado Springs. It's, I don't want to over romanticize it, right? Because I think it's very easy to sort of like dress up something that's not all that great because it's cute or it feels organic or something. But we need cities like Colorado Springs to have well-run soccer teams. We need them to have their own soccer buildings so that the game can be properly presented, right? I'm not saying that it's a bad thing that there are teams all over the country playing in minor league baseball stadiums if that's what it takes to get to a place of having their own building. But Colorado Springs has done everything right? They've launched the club. They've had success. They've been in the late stages of the playoffs. They've had very good coaches come through there. They have their own soccer-specific building. No, it's not 30,000. It's not 20,000. It's 9,000. But it's a soccer stadium for Colorado Springs. And you can definitely let yourself dream of a future in which Colorado Springs has enough demand that they can add some seats. That they're out now. They're at 10. They're at 11. They're at 12. They're at 15,000 people. And then wait. We got a team with a 15,000 seat stadium in Colorado Springs and another one in Louisville, and we're popping those up all over the country. And why wouldn't we connect our leagues and find a way for teams to move up if they win the second division? I mean, that would be great. So I'm looking forward to this as a showcase of the second division, despite the difficult start time for them out there in Colorado.
It might be worth digging into. Rhode Island FC in their first ever season, I believe, making all the way to the final. So making a historic run coming all the way from the East Coast to Colorado for a final in their very first season.
Yep.
CBS, 12 o'clock.
CBS. Shout out to Cano Smith, head coach, Rhode Island FC. If you are a New England soccer fan, you'll know that name. Shout out to Michael Parkhurst, who is from that area, from Rhode Island, and is a major part of this team as a investor, as a guy who got them off the ground. It's pretty incredible. It's pretty incredible that they're in this championship game in their first season, and again, that just gives them the opportunity to build something bigger, to look forward to their own soccer stadium, and putting roots down in a way that gives us like a real belief that there will be enough of these kind of clubs that, again, I'm going to say it, promotion and relegation is in our future.
Two big games, two champions crowned in America on Saturday. That does it for our long ball. So be sure to hit that subscribe button on the Morning Kickaround YouTube channel. We're ticking right along, and that is a big key to expanding this show. Come on, MK Ultras.
Let's go. Let's
Get
go.
dosed with your morning supply
we need
of morning
that
Kickaround.
crush of viewers and subscribers so that we can justify making the t-shirts or the jersey that says MK Ultras on it. I'm really gonna I'm looking for someone to engage with. What's up, Icarus FC? What's up, Olive in York? You're gonna create a jersey for the MK Ultras. Continue, Rob.
That would be amazing. And then also keep on sending in those emails to morningkickaround@gmail.com, getting some good ideas and some feedback for some American stories and some get to know your district segment ideas as well. So morningkickaround@gmail.com. All right, let's take a breath and we're going to come right back with today's hot topic. All right, amongst the big games going on this weekend, hot topic of the day here on Friday. What's the most entertaining MLS Cup matchup of the weekend? Of course, single elimination, and we got some doozies ahead of us.
I mean, that now we're down to win or go home. That's it. There's no more of this. Well, we've got the second game back in the other place. And if we lose that one, we come back home and we get a chance to close it out. A series. No. Like, who's your starting pitcher in game 2 is not a question we have to ask anymore.
But you want to save your goalie for the return leg, though.
I mean, I guess. Yeah. You want to make sure that your arms are fresh when you get to game 3 or whatever. Legs, I guess, in this case. Conference semifinals. So surprises in the East, right? That's the flavor of the Eastern Conference semis is surprises. We've got Orlando City hosting Atlanta. Now, Orlando City, maybe you could have predicted them getting to this point. Charlotte was their first round opponent. They were favored over Charlotte. That's not a shock. But it's who they're playing, of course, that is the surprise because Atlanta knocked out Inter Miami. And now Atlanta has an opportunity to continue the Cinderella run. And, man, I'm not sure why you would bet against them. I do think this is going to be tense. I do think it's going to be a pretty ugly game for most of it. I think is probably what we're going to get. That game's Sunday, by the way, 3:30 p.m. Eastern time for that matchup between Orlando City and Atlanta in Orlando. It's partisan crowd, the drums out there at Inter & Co. Stadium. But Rob Valentino is playing with house money. This is what does he have to lose to go for it against Orlando? He knows he's probably not getting this job. I mean, I guess he's still technically auditioning because I haven't heard anybody else step up. Patrick Vieira is now off the board, having signed a deal to coach Genoa in Italy.
Mascherano's off the board.
Javier Mascherano is now no longer a candidate for Atlanta United. Yeah, that's so sad. They don't. Jim Curtin still looms, right, as the X factor in all of these open jobs. St. Louis is open. Atlanta is open. Now Miami's not open, if Mascherano really is a done deal. And I think I'm missing one more open job out there in Major League Soccer. But this is for Rob Valentino. Yeah, you are coaching, I guess, still to audition for the job. But you are, again, coaching with house money. No one expected you to be here. Why not go for it? Why not make it difficult in Orlando City? They're a solid team, but they're not overly flashy. And so I think this will be a fascinating matchup. I'm attracted to that one, Rob, because of the underdog factor. So there is that, because, again, it's Cinderella with Atlanta United. But if you're talking about, sort of the higher profile games, that's not it, right? The higher profile games are the New York Derby, NYCFC against the Red Bulls. Now, that game's going to be played in a baseball stadium.
Which one? Which baseball stadium?
Game 2, Game 3, Game 7. It's being played in Citi Field. There was, for anybody catching up, Citi Field, they were going to limit capacity to 22,500. Citi Field, if every seat's available, is over 40,000 seat capacity. They've added some seats, so now it's up to 25,000. That should be a healthy crowd. It just won't look good because it's a baseball stadium. The Red Bulls are also their own Cinderella story. I think NYCFC is a better team, but I'm actually not doubting the Red Bulls. I will pick the Red Bulls to advance past New York City FC. In the Western Conference, LAFC and Seattle is now sort of a classic playoff matchup. It's happened multiple times, right? And LAFC has been pretty dominant in this series between these teams when it's mattered. And you were talking earlier that you heard me talk to Albert Rusnak on the radio yesterday. And Albert Rusnak, I think he's just that kind of guy. But he was making it sound like, well, we can't beat them.
Yeah, he was like, we're on a bad streak with them. We seem to lose to them in the playoffs every year, and we'll see if that changes.
Yeah, not hey, we're gonna go and do it. He wasn't like rah rah. He was kind of like, yeah, well, it's gonna be tough.
It'd be nice
And,
if we won.
yeah, and LAFC at this point is kind of it's kind of hard to root for them. Not because they're villains or anything, or even because like, oh, they've got Giroud and Lloris and but because the way they play, it's not negative because they're not necessarily committed to only defending, but it is manipulative in a sense that they want to get a particular situation, a particular sequence to happen. That sequence being Denis Bouanga on the break. That's basically it, right? Or Brian Hollingshead up the left side playing a ball. Like they are so committed to this bunker and counter mentality that it makes it hard to watch them. And the question obviously for Seattle is, can you break them down? That's it. Can you break them down? Can Rusnak and Jordan Morris and all these guys, Jordan Morris questionable because of injuries. I mean, they've had the long layoff just like everybody else. Like, can they figure out a way to break down this LAFC team? And then Galaxy, Minnesota. Minnesota's intriguing. They got the young coach, Eric Ramsey, just came over from Manchester United after being with their like set piece coach or something. Showed up late. Was like, oh yeah, no, I'm here. Sorry for being late. Gets them in the playoffs, gets them to this point. They play pretty negative soccer. They have in the playoffs so far. LA Galaxy are the most entertaining team to watch left in this tournament. Am I saying anything out of bounds there?
What, the Galaxy are the most entertaining left?
Yes.
Yeah, I would say from the West, that's the team I'm looking forward to watching the most. I'll say that.
Yeah. I saw Will Coons. I saw an interview. I didn't get a chance to read it, but I saw the headline. I can't remember who it was. It was Tom Bogert of Gimme Sport, who had written a piece with Will Coons. Will Coons said that they viewed Ricky Puig as their quarterback. And what they needed to do was get him some wide receivers. So they went out and got Gabriel Peck and Joseph Pansil, and it has come good. That Ricky Puig connection to Pansil and Peck is really working out, and it has made them an incredibly fun team to run. Let's not forget they have Marco Royce over there. What?
Yeah, to be honest, like, is that wild? Is he the biggest name that's had the quietest reception?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of forget he's there, but that's because they already had the pieces in place to be this good. It's not like, oh, we got Marco Royce and now we're good. It was, we're good. Oh, we can add Marco Royce. Okay, yeah, sure. Why wouldn't we do that? Right? Why wouldn't we add Marco Royce and see what he can do in this team? And he's not critical, and that's good, right? That's good that they have a player of that kind of pedigree who's that successful in his career, and he's a guy off the bench. You bring him on for 25 minutes off the bench late in the game to maintain possession, slow things down, make the game calmer as you see it out, right? He came on when the Galaxy were up 2-1 in the match against Colorado to finish out that series because Ricky Puig added 2 added time goals. But you bring on Marco Royce, you let him just kind of settle things down, and the Galaxy are looking like a very, very strong MLS Cup contender right now.
We talked about the international hangover with the European teams, but this affects the MLS sides, if not maybe more. Do you think which of these teams would you say might be affected most by the long delay?
I don't know that. So there are teams that finished out their series in 2 games. The Galaxy being one of them, right? Where you feel like that's going to be a problem for them. More than a team that had to play 3 games because that 3rd game means you've played more recently. But I'm not sure anybody likes it, and I'm not sure it's been good for anybody. Every player I've had a chance to talk to, when you ask them about it, they go, I don't like it, but it is what it is. So I am actually advocating for it is what it is to be the new slogan for the MLS Cup playoffs in 2024. The MLS Cup playoffs. It is what it is. That's what I'm saying right now. That's what the players are saying. So yeah, here we go. Like, I'm excited because I love MLS. I love the playoffs. I love this whole thing. I will admit that it's been tough with this long layoff, waiting for these things to restart. I'm hoping I can get my excitement level back up. We've got the 2 games tomorrow, the New York matchup, LAFC versus Seattle. We got the 2 games on Sunday, Orlando, Atlanta, LA Galaxy, Minnesota. Hopefully going to be able to watch all of them.
So this is Hot Topic, so I'm going to amp up the drama. Gun to your head, Jason. If you could only watch one of these 4 games, which one would it be?
I think, man, this is a good one.
So, okay, so I'll give you some time to ponder it because, things can come up. There's, going to the pumpkin or the apple orchard and raking leaves and
I got a
shoveling
Christmas tree lighting.
snow.
I got a Christmas tree lighting tomorrow, Robert. So
Yeah.
that is on the family's agenda. Christmas tree lighting. I'm going to be watching that NWSL final. So, again, I got to check my times. I got to look, got a 5:30 kickoff for the Red Bulls NYCFC and a 10:30 kickoff for Seattle LAFC. Well, I'm going to squeeze the NWSL championship in between those if I'm watching everything. 3:30 on Sunday for the Orlando City Atlanta game, 6:00 p.m. for Galaxy Minnesota. I can watch them all, but you're saying if I could only choose one?
There's only one.
Choose one. If there's only one. Okay, I can't. I'm gonna do a process of elimination here. So come with me here. I can't watch as much as if I'm choosing one. As much as I love the idea of the rivalry, making it more interesting, I can't watch the baseball stadium soccer game. It can't be my number one. I can't pick that one. I'm sorry. My apologies to all of the New York people out there who are watching us today. I will say that as much as I respect Atlanta United's journey to this point after beating Inter Miami and Orlando. And look, Harry says it's an underrated rivalry, Orlando-Atlanta. You're right about that. There's something about that. They're fairly close in proximity. But, man, that's not the one that's grabbing me. LAFC has a great atmosphere. The Sounders are. I have so much respect for the Sounders, who they are, Brian Smetzer and all that. But I think I'm picking Galaxy Minnesota. I think I'm picking that game. I think the Dignity Health Sports Spa, what bank? What is it? Massage parlor, what do they have over there?
The Galaxy Quest Zone.
Yeah, that place. Home Depot Center is what I'm going to call it. Should be rocking. That's a little different crowd than the LAFC crowd, but it's still loud, still fills up. Yeah, and then it's Ricky Puig is my favorite player in Major League Soccer right now, and it's not even close. Got to watch Ricky Puig.
So LA Galaxy versus Minnesota, gun to your head decision right there.
Yeah, that's it. That's the one. It's close. It's close. Look, I can make a case for Orlando, Atlanta. I can make a case for LAFC and Seattle. The New York game gets bumped way down because of the Citi Field situation, but it's got to be Galaxy versus Minnesota.
I got to say, the MLS social media team has done a really good job with packaging. Maybe some Galaxy content too, but during the long layoff, they've packaged all of Ricky Puig's goals and celebrations and some pretty entertaining content. And they've kind of like, I usually don't buy into kind of hype like that, but those videos that they've put out in this international break in between the first and second round has got me excited to watch.
He's
Ricky
a cartoon
Puig.
Character. He's an anime character. He's kind of a ridiculous human being, the way he flies around. He's got those long strides and the hair that's like I sometimes, like, my hair, if I let it grow out, and we all did during the pandemic, Rob, right? We all let our hair grow out because you couldn't get to the barber, to the salon. So I had like the waves. Like, I get waves, and like sometimes I'm like, man, I could really make this look good, but it's so much work. It's so much extra work to like deal with trying to like get the right height on it and the volume, and I'm just gonna like, I'll just cut it off for the most part. Cut it off. Ricky Puig is not that guy.
And you have to be pretty brave to get through that awkward middle stage.
That's what I'm saying. Like, Ricky Puig do you think he ever had an awkward middle phase with that haircut? I don't think he did. I think he's just always looked cool. Like, he's always looked good with it. Sometimes it's ridiculous, but it's like ridiculous in a cool way. It's like how my 3-year-old, it doesn't matter what my 3-year-old's hair looks like, he looks good. How does he do that? I don't know. Is it a cute kid thing? Maybe Ricky Puig has cute kid qualities, despite being a full-grown adult man.
He's not very tall though. I mean, what is he, about 5'4", 5'5"? So I mean,
yeah,
there's a little bit
guy.
of that. And then did you ever attempt it, or did your wife ever attempt a COVID at home haircut?
Oh yeah, twice. First one, not too bad. Thank you very much. You did a great job. Thank you. Second one, absolute disaster. She will never touch my head ever again. Not going to happen. Terrible. Don't know why. She kept cutting. I kept going, what are you doing? What are you doing? Got done with it. Like, all right, well, at least I get to stay at home and not see anybody for a while. Have an excuse.
That was your hat era after
Used to be a hot guy, not a hot guy anymore. So, yeah,
that?
no, you can't even do that.
All right, guys, send us in which MLS Cup match is your do or die. If you have to pick one of them, let us know in the comments. But either way, follow us along on X and the Instagram. Give us a subscribe on YouTube. Morning Kickaround on the YouTube. The best way to help this show grow. We're going to take a moment, take a breath, and come right back with today's big question. The big question here in front of a big sporting weekend. The NWSL Championship is on Saturday, which brings us to the big question. Can the NWSL ever compete with the likes of the NHL, MLB, NFL, and NBA? Can they?
Yeah, that's the headline. I mean, it's a question we're asking ourselves here on Morning Kickaround, but that's a headline on a story by Jeff Kassouf over at ESPN, right? Because the NWSL has been growing by leaps and bounds, and obviously wrapped up on all of this is expansion, which we will get to as a part of this story. But Jeff Kassouf writing at ESPN, for years, the global debate around the NWSL's on-field product has centered around whether it is the best women's soccer league in the world. Recently, however, NWSL Commissioner Jessica Berman and an ever-expanding league office have mulled a more provocative question. Can the NWSL, a women's soccer league that is barely a decade old, be one of the best sports leagues, period, in the world? Can it be relevant with MLS, NHL, NFL, NBA? These are obviously, this is the kind of question, to go a little bit meta here for a second, Rob. This is the kind of question that it's of a flavor that sometimes we ask ourselves in American soccer. This has been a big question on the men's side for a long time, right? It's similar to, can MLS be one of the best leagues in the world? Like, it feels of a character like that, right? And there will always be, for whatever reason, snobbery about European football or Latin American football, I guess. Sexism in the case of the NWSL, all anti-Americanism, period. Like, whatever the reasoning is, there will always be a segment of people who go, that's not even a question you can ask. Like, basically, you're not allowed to ask that. It's so ridiculous that you're not even allowed to ask that question. Like, if we put this question on the video when we post to the channel later, when we cut up the show and post this, I'm almost guaranteeing comments that will basically say, what are you talking about? As if the question cannot possibly be worthy of examination. And I don't think that's where we are with this. I don't think it's where we are with whether MLS can ever be one of the best leagues in the world or the U.S. men's national team can ever win a World Cup. Those are questions worth asking. And if you don't ask these questions, then you'll never get yourself to even the believing in the possibility that such things can happen. And I don't know what the timeline is on something like this, right? I don't know that it's because this would be unprecedented. Right, this kind of thing for a women's sports league to rate in terms of relevance with those sports leagues is something that's never happened before. But I don't think it's impossible. Do you think it's impossible?
No, I don't think it's impossible. I mean, there are signs of a rising tide on the NWSL website. They said that for the first time in league history, attendance peaked over 2 million across the board. And that I think over 55 matches have over 55 or over 10,000 in attendance. So in-person attendance is higher than it's ever been. And I'm not sure how many times their league final or the NWSL league final has been featured in prime time on a national network.
Yeah, this is new territory. And Jeff talks about in his story how once upon a time, we got excited about the NWSL signing a television deal with Lifetime. You remember this?
Yeah, actually, you know what's funny? I actually thought that was gonna spawn into. I understand why it didn't now, but I actually thought that with the Lifetime deal, I thought they were gonna spawn that into a lot of like reality shows and make it a whole like kind of a completely different approach to covering
Well,
it and
okay,
make
so
it.
now you're getting to a bigger question about the direction of sports in this modern moment, right? This reminds me of something that I read a while back. Trying to remember which English soccer writer said it, but he said that Juventus, and he was talking specifically about Juventus, but he was meaning every other big club like Juventus. He's no longer a soccer club, not in the traditional sense. It is now a content machine,
Mhm.
right? Like you take it out of like we're just putting a team on the field to win games and win championships and draw fans because that we're fun to watch or we're winning things. To we're also producing television shows. We're pushing. We've got esports teams attached to the brand. We're doing all these things, right? That soccer clubs have had to think of themselves in much bigger ways in terms of what they produce than in the past. And the NWSL is kind of caught in between those things, right? And I think by virtue, let's not pretend otherwise, by virtue of being a women's soccer league, a women's sports league, this creates this kind of germ of we need to think differently outside the box. We need to be creative. And I don't think there's anything wrong with being creative. MLS has done this. Other sort of growing sports leagues have done this, getting creative with what they do. But there's sort of a self-limiting element if you're the NWSL, as Jeff describes, and you're like, you know what we need to do? We're not going to sign a deal with a traditional television network. We're going to sign a deal with Lifetime, and we're going to be like specifically aimed in a direction that means we're cutting off a potential audience because we are positioning ourselves like if you are attached to Lifetime, you're positioning yourself as a women's sports product for women. And it's not that men can't watch, but you're sending a message that hey, this isn't really for you, right? This is only really for the women, which isn't the way to grow the league in the grand scheme of things, certainly not over the long term, Rob.
No, yeah, you don't want to necessarily. That's narrow casting, right? If you're
Yes.
sending a message, I mean, Lifetime is television for women is their catchphrase. So admit that. So, but I did think that they were going to do more off the field stuff, which they didn't really materialize, and that deal didn't end up being a good idea for the league. And obviously, they've gone a different direction now. They're get on a much bigger platform with CBS, and it's wild to think of. While I mean, many people can probably nitpick and pick holes in like where they are, where the NWSL is compared to those traditional sports leagues, but you see how far they've come. I mean, this league was what 10 plus years old, and the history of women's professional soccer leagues is pretty fractured, and none maybe made it this far,
Yeah.
let
Yeah.
alone getting
Well,
national
look,
platforms.
so some of this is, the 2019 World Cup did a lot of work to help push the NWSL to the fore of a sports conversation. It was a massive thing. The U.S. women going to France and winning was a big deal that gave the NWSL momentum to say, hey, those players, they play over here. They play with us. They're in our league. And this is the thing that the NWSL has going for it that MLS has never had going for it,
The top
is that
players.
there was a vacuum in women's soccer for top leagues, right? That didn't exist, right? There was meaning there's no established. Oh, those leagues are so much better than every other league that's starting. You can't compete. That didn't exist in women's soccer. So for the NWSL to limit itself, whether through the Lifetime deal or just its thinking initially, that was unfortunate because there was always a possibility that the NWSL could say we're the best women's soccer league in the world. Period. Now, they've had to be aggressive in order to spend the kind of money or make the kind of moves to bring the players in where they can legitimately say that, where it's not just resting on the U.S. women's national team core, but now you have some of the best players in the world who want to play here. Now, I don't know if Donna Bonmatí is coming anytime soon, but there will start to be more of a question of whether or not the best players in the world need to be in this league because this is where the best soccer is being played. And what's fascinating about this, too, from an American perspective, is the NWSL is clearly interested in being a parity-driven league, very much like the MLS, very much like the NFL. These ideas that we have, whereas in Europe, obviously, with the men's game, there's parity's just not. It's a non-starter. It's already too late for any of that to happen now, and you wonder if the NWSL, by virtue of that parity, can capture attention without the baggage of, well, you do it differently than Europe. Right? Yes, it's different in terms of how they crown champions than men's or women's soccer in Europe, but there's less baggage, right? Because there isn't a Premier League to compare the NWSL to. And that doesn't mean that the Super League can't be a big deal, the English Super League can't be a big deal, or challenge MLS or NWSL rather. And it has, like for occasionally for players, it has. And there are English players there who I'd love to have in NWSL who stay true to Arsenal or Chelsea or whatever. But it's just to say that the NWSL has a lot of advantages that MLS never had, and it seems as though they're finally starting, or now they're getting to that place where those advantages really are being realized.
Has CBS in their advertising for this, have they tagged NWSL as the best league in the world? Is that being publicly touted that this is the best league and it's here in the United States?
I mean, I think that what they're doing is they're saying, these are the best players in the world, the best players in the world player. Now, that's not universally true, right? But more of that level play in NWSL than any other league, because yes, there is a collection of talent at Barcelona, and there's a collection of talent at a couple of teams in England, and there's a collection of talent at Lyon in France. But those teams are dominant in their league to the point of almost it being laughable, right? Because they don't have the strength down the tiers of their competition. So NWSL can say, we don't have one or two teams. We've got 15 teams, right? We've got 10 teams that are playing, 8 teams, whatever it is. I mean, look at our playoffs. Look at how intense they are. Look at the quality that's coming through. I think that's the thing. And obviously expansion is a major part of this, Rob, because it's driving that conversation. Now, MLS has obviously leaned into this heavily as expansion as a way to keep excitement going about the future of the league. And it kind of distracts from the playing product and whether the quality is there for MLS. NWSL doesn't need to do that, but there is obviously demand. And we're also seeing a moment with basketball, women's basketball in this country, for lots of reasons, that is tied into this. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, sure. Like you said, MLS, I mean, it's a whole like real estate grab deal, like publicity stunts have to be done to get an MLS expansion side. NWSL doing it a little bit more behind closed doors. Reports are Cincinnati, Denver, Cleveland, Nashville, Philadelphia, all jockeying for expansion. But the headline of the day in this with this story is Caitlin Clark, Indiana Fever, and Iowa basketball ledge getting involved in Cincinnati's expansion bid.
Yeah, this is a story from the Sports Business Journal since you mentioned it. There is Jessica Berman with the trophy, by the way. That's the commissioner. Cincinnati. This is prior to what you just mentioned with Caitlin Clark, which I'll get to. But Jeff Birding, who was involved in the FC Cincinnati project, he's got a kind of a checkered history if you talk to FC Cincinnati fans running that team, but obviously a major part of getting soccer off the ground in Cincinnati. Cleveland, which I don't know a ton about here. It says former Gravitas Ventures president Michael Murphy and founder Nolan Gallagher are spearheading this. Those business guys. Denver, which I have an interest in. I got family from Denver. Jordan Angeli is involved. Tom Dunmore. This is a very interesting name. I'm just going to highlight this for a second. Tom Dunmore is a guy that I know from blogging about soccer 15 years ago, who then went on to start his own quarterly soccer journal. So it was Howler, but it was less of a magazine and more of a journal. I think it was called 11. Tom Dunmore, it says here, Major League Cricket Vice President of Marketing. He helped launch Indy 11 with Peter Wilt. So he's got deep roots in soccer in this country in addition to what he's doing with cricket now. So I'm fascinated by that. Nashville and Philadelphia, as you mentioned. But let's go to the Caitlin Clark news. This is the statement after it was reported that Caitlin Clark was involved. The NWSL Cincinnati bid team is thrilled that Caitlin Clark has joined our ownership group in pursuit of bringing a women's professional soccer team to our city. Passion for this sport. Maybe she's a soccer person. I haven't seen that, but
yeah, she played soccer and basketball in high school, and I guess she had a lot of offers for soccer, but chose basketball ultimately.
Okay, well there you go. So obviously an incredible athlete, a transformative figure in women's basketball. Well, there are some social things baked into Caitlin Clark's influence in basketball that I don't think we need to address here, but it is fascinating that she's involved. And We talked about this is really neither here nor there, Robert, as to whether it matters that she's involved. I don't get the sense that Caitlin Clark has made enough money to put real capital into this, but just by having her name attached to the bid, like it can almost be an in-kind situation. You say Caitlin Clark's part of your ownership group, it brings lots of attention to the team, and that's essentially her investment. The attention that she brings to Cincinnati's bid to be in NWSL.
I mean, come on, Caitlin, you can't support a bid for the Des Moines NWSL team. I mean, throw your weight and money behind your hometown.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think Des Moines a little too small for that kind of ambition, but I guess it's at least is okay. Hold on. Here's the question.
Midwestern proud, right?
Is Cincinnati the Midwest, Robert?
Yeah, I would say so. It's in Ohio. It's on the border of the South. It's definitely on the border of the South.
Yeah, they're across the river from Kentucky, so it's in Kentucky. I think most people would call at least Mid South. There's it's a little blobby. I feel like the Midwest is just too damn big, and we need to be a little bit more specific. But I guess Michigan, Ohio, that's the Midwest, all the way out to what? Nebraska, Colorado. Yeah. Is Colorado a mountain state, not a Midwestern state?
You call those the Great Plains. And then the mountains.
It's a plain state. Okay, I don't know which one is. Again, my parents are from Colorado. Are they Midwesterners? I don't actually know. Okay, Jenny says no. Our producer says no.
So if you were to hold me to Midwestern, it would be almost like Ohio on the east to Minnesota on the west, and then down. But then if you go too far south, then it becomes the South. So I think Missouri is the cutoff line.
Missouri's the South. I mean, Missouri's Midwest is not the South. Parts of Missouri are the South, though. We're gonna say that.
Yeah.
The bottom half of Missouri is kind of the South. The bottom quarter of Missouri is kind of the South. The Dakotas. Dakotas are Midwest or no? There's
Great
not
Plains.
many people there.
Great Plains.
Okay, they're plain states. They're not Midwestern states. All right.
The upper Midwest is definitely Michigan, Wisconsin, Ohio, Indiana, Illinois. And then the rest is all semantics.
All right. I mean, the thing about it is it's Midwest because we didn't used to have a whole lot out far west when really Ohio's pretty damn east when you think about it. It's pretty far east in terms of the map of the United States. But we don't need to debate this anymore. Caitlin Clark's involved in Cincinnati. You think this gives them a leg up? Does Caitlin Clark put Cincinnati over the edge for an NWSL franchise? I mean, we saw some pretty strong bids in there.
Yeah, there is some strong bids, and it's just exciting that there's that many people jockeying, was the word used in the article, to get in, and there is an appeal, and there is a momentum towards this league and an ambition to expand it. Like I said, when I was covering NWSL team, Chicago Red Stars in like 14 to 16, there was like 9 teams. And when the commissioner was asked about expansion, they were like, we hope so. And then, and then now there's, multiple teams, almost half a dozen teams. And don't forget about Boss Nation coming into the league too. So there is a lot of, there's a magnetism to the league now. And as far as Caitlin Clark, she seems to have a huge gravity of her own. So it definitely doesn't hurt to have her name associated with the Cincinnati bid. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it is. They're moving from strength to strength, and you have to capitalize, right? This is the moment when the NWSL has a lot of attention. They've got a lot of great teams in this league. They come off of what San Diego did last year. There's some little negativity. There's some negativity around San Diego that we don't need to address. It's not that long ago. I mean, I mentioned we talked about the left time thing and some of the things. The 2019 World Cup. It's not that long ago that this league was going to in an upheaval because of a number of scandals around coaches abusing their authority and all kinds of horrible things happening in terms of the culture of the league. And I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that that's not all entirely fixed because human nature kind of indicates it can't be entirely fixed. But they have put in place much stronger controls around all of that, which I think is an important step. They dealt with it head on, which was necessary if you're going to get past it. You have to deal with it head on. And hopefully, this league continues to grow and becomes a bigger and bigger thing because it looks like it has the potential to be the gold standard for women's soccer leagues, women's sports leagues. And to Jeff's, come back to the big question: can they? I don't see why not.
Yeah, indications are positive at the very least. The championship game, once again, Orlando Pride versus Washington Spirit, 8 o'clock on Saturday night. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Before we go, I do want to say kind of rest in peace, a Detroit soccer persona suddenly passed away this week. Dave Hibbestreet, anyone watching from the Detroit area probably knew him in the soccer world. So condolences to his friends and family out there. And he was involved in Michigan Soccer Central stuff, my previous project. So got to tip my hat to him.
All right. I would just as a matter of housekeeping, next week is obviously Thanksgiving week. I believe we're on a one-show schedule. Be here on Monday. I don't know if anything else is in the works, but I will be otherwise engaged with family, and we'll talk next week about what's coming for Morning Kick Around.
Yep. Give us a subscribe, Morning Kick Around on the YouTubes. Enjoying seeing those numbers tick up. Follow us along on the X and the Instagram. And I think maybe over the Thanksgiving break, maybe we'll get ourselves over onto the Blue Sky, the show.
Ooh.
Maybe get a Blue Sky account over on
Sure.
over the holiday.
Yes.
Why not?
Explore those blue skies. Why not? Why not? Why wouldn't we do that?
All right, guys. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the chock full calendar full of soccer games. And until next time, take care of yourselves. Enjoy your soccer.